the seats and we'll get started in a minute or two. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the South East Local Area Committee meeting. My name's Kurtis Crossland. I am the chair of the South East LAC. Before I ask all the councillors to introduce themselves, I'm going to hand over to the committee clerk, who's going to read all the housekeeping arrangements. Oh, okay. I think it's set up for karaoke instead. To hide my bad voice. We'll try and get it, so sorry about it.
Please, can I request that mobile telephones and other such equipment are switched to silent mode as to not disturb the conduct of the meeting. There is no fire test planned for today. If there is an emergency evacuation, please take instruction from the council staff present. The assembly point is outside the main entrance. The toilets are through those doors to my left. The meeting today is open to the public and will be streamed live and for subsequent broadcast via the council's website. You should be aware that the council is a data controller under the Data Protection Act. Data collected during this webcast will be retained in accordance with the council's published policy. By entering this meeting room, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting. We also have hearing loops available, so if you would like to use one, please let us know. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Is the sound better now? Is it okay? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So we're going to go around and introduce everybody. So as I said, my name is Kurtis Crossland. I'm a councillor for Bayton and also the chair of the local area committee. If we go this way round then.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Gail Smith. I'm deputy chair of the LAC and I represent the Mosborough ward.
J. Bell, Democratic Services Officer.
I'm Councillor Mick Rooney, because it says so there, so I must be. And I represent Woodhouse. Thank you.
I'm Councillor Alison Norris, and I represent Woodhouse as well.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Tony Downing, and I represent Mosborough.
Councillor Horner, I represent Bayton.
Councillor Denise Chapman, and I represent Mosborough.
Councillor Anne Woolhouse and I represent Bayton. Thank you. I'm Jane Falls and I'm the South East Local Area Committee's Manager.
Thank you. And tonight we are also joined by Councillor Fran Belbin, who is the Deputy Leader of the Council. So if you'd like to...
Thank you. Just to say that I'm here partly in my role as the Chair of the Governance Committee, and in the Governance Committee we're really interested in all things democratic engagement and how we involve our communities in our decision making. So if you're really interested in that, we've got a paper going to the Governance Committee next week which you can find on our website, but please do just grab me for a chat at some point during the evening. Local area committees are a really important part of how we engage with the public, but there's lots of other ways as well, so I'm very pleased to be here and have a good meeting.
So we move on to item 2, apologies of absence. I've had apologies from Councillor Brian Lodge, Councillor Denise Fox, Councillor Karen McGowan and Councillor Paul Wood. Have we had, is that everybody, I think? Okay, thank you. Item 3, exclusion of public and the press. There are no items that require exclusions of public and the press. Item 4, declarations of interest. Are there any members that wish to declare an interest with any items on the agenda? No? So minutes of the previous meeting. On the minutes, I did spot on page 10, it says Councillor Tony Dams. I think that should probably be Tony Downing. Easy mix-up. Anything else? Can we accept them?
Yes, Chair.
Perfect, thank you. So item 6, this is where we open up to any public questions. We've received, I think, 3 questions in advance of the meeting. So the first lot of questions that we've received is from Dave Cronshaw. So I'm going to read them all out. I think that was agreed with Dave. So with regards to the Skowden Centre on Wickfield Grove, S12, can I ask who actually runs the building, as I called down yesterday and it looks underused as a community asset, plus there's no notice boards outside advertising what's on. So the building is owned and run by Sheffield City Council's Housing Department. The centre is used and the frequency is increasing. New and existing groups are contacting the LAC and housing with regards to booking. The current user groups cover a variety of age ranges, and the user groups have been in discussions regarding a new board outside the centre, which has been ordered. Dave also asked if we can let him know how many groups use it and what do they get charged for the year. There are currently 3 user groups that deliver 5 to 6 different types of activities each week. The general charge for hire of a room is £36 per hour. With regards to the Economic Recovery Fund money, why has Woodhouse had £120,000 of Economic Recovery Fund money over the 2 rounds compared to only £50,000 for Hackenthorpe in the Burley ward? And when will the £50,000 be spent in Hackenthorpe? And can you tell me who put the bid in? So the Economic Recovery Fund was an open fund across the city, and the successful applicants were decided by an independent panel, but we will get some more detailed information sent to you from the ERF team, who will write directly. Can you confirm what the 4 wards, Bayton, Burley, Mosborough and Woodhouse in the South East area are getting in 2023-2024 from the Council's Shared Prosperity Fund? So the South East received £44,918 in total. Half of that has been allocated to the Citizens Advice Bureau to help with its city's free phone advice line. The other half has been advertised within the South East area for community groups helping to support people in the South East with the cost of living crisis. To date, we've allocated around £10,000 of that to community groups. And that's all of Dave's questions. I believe the next lot of questions we received are from... Oh, yes, sorry, of course, sorry. Yeah.
In reply to one of those questions, I'd just like to mention that there's a group using the Scoudens on a Tuesday morning. It's called S12 Pantry. They're helping different things in the community, but it is a warm space area. So if anybody around there wants to go in between 10 and 12, it's open to the general public to use it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Tony? Yeah.
Yeah, there's also in the Mosborough area, there are some places in warm spaces. There's the Mosborough Methodist Church, I know for one. There's the one at Westfield, the big what used to, what's the big local? What used to be the Golden Keys, which is now the Westfield Community Centre. I know they've received funding out of this as well. And if there's anyone out there, community groups that need some support, please come forward, because this money is there for you if you need to use it for that kind of thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. So the next set of questions that we've received are from Roger Marsh, I believe. Do you want to ask your questions, or? Thank you. I need another copy after this, won't I? So I've got... So Roger's asking questions about the Althorpe Site F. So on what date was Althorpe Grassland Grazing Project Phase 2, Sheffield Plan Site F, put under Natural England's higher level stewardship agreement? When will the agreement terminate? Will the agreement be extended? And if not, why not? So as far as I'm aware, the higher level stewardship agreement for the Althorpe Site F was initiated in March 2013, and it was concluded on the 31st of March 2023. The higher level stewardship scheme is transitioning out as part of a broader shift towards the environmental land management schemes. This change reflects something that was brought in the Environment Act in 2021, and obviously we can send you more information separately as well.
Will Site F be included in this new scheme?
I'm not sure. We can... Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. In the information that I did receive from officers about this, it did say that the Site F was included for housing development in 1998, but then taken out again. I found that from your question last time. And then, yeah, exactly. So, in my opinion, this is quite a good example of why a few of us didn't vote for the local plan and voted against it, because the consultation, well, it was consultation in name only, to be quite honest. So, yeah, we will get you some more detailed responses, and I'm sure you'll send some more questions through as well. Yeah. Thank you. Would anybody like to add anything to that? Or? Oh, Councillor Horner.
Just worth saying, in terms of the planning inquiry, because I've been pursuing this, the planning inspectors will make an initial view, and at that point, people can make further representations. We can't make any more representations at this point until the inspectors give an initial view, and then it moves to the inquiry. So we have continued to pursue it, but at the moment we can't take it any further with the planning inspectorate as councillors.
Can I just say that I went to apply at 5 days and looked at the site,
told him, oh, thanks. They told him it was just a green field, which obviously it is not. And he gave me some advice, which I'm taking up. And I've got a paper petition and an online petition. Anybody who wants to sign it, it's welcome tonight. And we'll take it forward to, because it's out of the council's hands now, so I've got to make this official. But I will give a copy of the petition to the council.
Right. Thank you. Oh yeah, Alison.
And I just wanted to say in relation to the local plan, obviously there'll be elements in any local plan across the whole city that are not popular, but we've done really well. Where we have done really well in the local plan is to get so many brownfield sites put aside for new housing, which we desperately need. I'm on the housing committee, and we're talking to Camden Council at the minute because they've got a much quicker and more extensive house building programme than we have, and one of the things they're using is the extra the conditions they can set on development because of having a local plan, which allows for more socially affordable. There's more ammunition from the council to have more affordable homes in the new developments, and we are looking at I think it's something like more than 80% of the new homes planned will be on brownfield sites in Sheffield. So I think, although there are problems with local plans, there are also significant advantages for them.
Thank you. I believe we also received some questions just in advance of the meeting from Jill Green, who is trying to join us virtually. I don't know if we've got all the text sorted. If not, I can read them out. Oh, can you hear us? Oh, okay. I'll just read. Oh, no. Well, I'm glad she didn't come there. Yeah, I'm sure we all send our regards to Jill. Okay. So I will read questions out there, all regarding Amey. So her first question is, please could Amey explain why they do not litter pick on open spaces and grass verges immediately prior to grass cutting? The grass cutters frequently shred litter, including plastics, paper and metal cans, which is then left to pollute the environment and endanger wildlife. It also makes any litter picking much more difficult if it has been shredded by the grass cutters. So I spoke to Gillian from Amey just before the meeting, and Amey they do send litter pickers before they cut the grass. Obviously, they can't control when people drop litter, and somebody might sneak by and drop some litter before the lawnmower goes by. But Amey do try and get out and pick the litter before, because as Jill said in her question, it is terrible for the environment. Does anybody want to add anything, or shall I move on to Jill's second?
Just a comment, really. I suppose the other question is, why do people throw rubbish on a playing field, which is a bit of annoying thing when I can remember at Waterthorpe when we had a football team that played on there, they had to move to Westfield because people churned the grass up with motorbikes, they threw litter, they didn't pick up after their dogs. So perhaps we ought to be finding out whether we need more litter bins in the area that this lady's talking about, Chair.
Mick?
It depends which grass that Miss Green is talking about, because there are two agencies cut grass in the city. Amey only cuts the grass verges. All the rest of the grass in the city is cut by Parks Country and Woodland, isn't it? So it's two different. So we might, This sounds very strange coming from me in defence of Amey, doesn't it? Because we have had one or two run-ins, but we may be blaming the wrong people here.
Yeah, that's a point. Good point.
Tony, did you want to come in and then?
Yeah, it's just a comment, Chair. I mean, we litter pick. I get out as often as I can, but of course with council commitments I don't always get out. But there is a regular litter picking group in the area where I represent, and it is a fact that there are cans that's chewed up, and anybody walking the dog, that's dangerous for those. But as Mick has already said, it's not necessarily down to Amey, all of it, because there's other agencies that cut the grass, and so it was just to sort of point out and to reinforce Mick's point that it's not only Amey, but there are other. And again, defending Amey is okay. Thanks, Chair.
Just for Jill Green, if she wants to come back to us with exact locations, then I can double check that, just to make sure that we are definitely litter picking those stages.
Perfect, thank you. Jill did have a second question. We won't be able to respond to it properly now, so I'll just read it out and then we can move on to. So Jill also asked I understand that there was a policy of no grass cutting in certain areas this year during No Mow May. This is a welcome policy to encourage wild flora and fauna. It did, however, make a green space adjacent to Moss Way, 100 yards down from the police station roundabout, unusable. Many local children and dog walkers use this green space for football and general activities, so please would it be possible to leave it out of the No Mow May schedule next year, please? So again, I spoke with Amey just before the meeting, and we, if you can, Jill, send us a bit more information about exactly where you mean, and we'll look into that for you. Yeah.
In response to Councillor Smith's comment about why do people drop litter, I think a simple answer to that is because they can, and there's not enough being done about that. You can provide as many bins as you like, but they won't necessarily be used, in the same way that there's an enormous amount of fly tipping, and we know that because we actually collect it. We're not litter pickers, we're a fly tipping clearance team, and the fly tipping team has been disbanded. We've collected about 6 tonnes of fly tipped rubbish from out of Flockton Park over the last 8 weeks. And I'd like to know who we're supposed to be in contact with prior to organising a pick, so that it can be dealt with promptly and not end up back in the brook. And I think it's time that we looked into doing something more about that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I walk my dog in Waterthorpe, and I walk past many bins, and there's rubbish not 5 foot away from the bin, so you're right. It is about education, isn't it? I can remember when I was a child, they used to have an advert on television, and it said, keep Britain tidy, pick up your litter and put it in a bin. Perhaps we need more of that. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't, but I wish, it's one of my pet hates that people throw litter.
Definitely. And while we're on this, I'd also like to publicly say thank you to all the community litter pickers that we do have, because it's about having pride in our area, and these people go out and put their money where their mouth is and go out and pick litter, even on cold days. Tony, did you want to come in?
Yeah, it's just about litter bins. I mean, I was down in the south of England a couple of years ago on holiday, and I saw a sign on a bin. This is a bit of a joke, I suppose, really, but what it said on there is, in the event of a nuclear attack, please get under this bin because nothing ever hits it. Yeah.
Maybe we should spend some of our money on that, yeah. Mick?
I believe that we were, at least last year, allocated and a sum of money to deal with fly tipping hotspots. So I'm not sure how much of that got actually spent. I did recommend one or two places in Woodhouse, but one of them wasn't Plockton Park.
Is that for our area?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you could provide, well, me or Jane with those, then we will use some of that budget if we've still got some left to deal with that. I mean, it's very noble of you and your colleagues to do this sort of thing, but fly tipping is a bit different from picking up litter. I mean, I think that's potentially quite dangerous, and you know, you never know what you're going to come across in some of these things that are being done. Is also quite often it contains hazardous material. So, you know, as grateful as we are for you doing that, I think you need to be careful and perhaps let us deal with it as a hotspot on that scheme that I mentioned a few moments ago.
Talk to us after that.
Yeah, if you want to talk to us after as well, and I'm sure we'd all be more than happy to help as much as we can. Glynis?
Yeah, we've had a hotspot in Halfway where we have had litter stop, and I got in touch with environmental services. They were brilliant. They came out and cleared it up. They've educated the people round about that have been making the mess, and they got a few addresses from some of the stuff, and they went out, and people are having to pay for the litter clearing. So if you do have a big problem, then perhaps get in touch with one of your councillors and we can go to environmental services for you.
Ian?
Yeah, just to say about, and I've been out with the various litter picking groups in my area. Until we start actually taking action against people who drop litter, it's not going to change. I don't know whether it's the fact that cars now have electric windows, but strangely, loads of people seem to think that when you press the electric window button, that becomes a bin because you can chuck stuff out of it. And I have been looking into whether we can get litter cams for some of our main roads, because we just have to prosecute people in the end, because it's not going to stop if we tell people not to do it, and that's something that we all need to think about.
Right, yeah, if we open it up to the floor now for questions, I believe that's all the pre-submitted ones that we've had. So I saw a hand over there first.
Yeah, in terms of...
sorry, if you can give your name, sorry, and what
yes,
board.
My name's Julian Baker. I'm involved in S13 Keep It Clean group. Yeah, one of the bigger problems we have is in our area is Stradbroke Road near the school, and I just wanted to flag up that, you know, surely the schools must have some kind of role in encouraging their students to not drop all their lunch and everything else on the way to and from school. Because, I mean, Stradbroke Road going to Outwood, I'm not so sure what the situation is with Handsworth Grange, but it's dreadful.
I believe that we did have a scheme, didn't we, with some schools in our area, where it was what? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the kids went out and picked litter and guilt tripped their parents.
I think our group has approached out the school and got nowhere whatsoever. So, and obviously, you know, we're in a situation where most of the schools are now out with local authority. And I recognise that's a real big difficulty. But, I mean, you know, school is in a community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just strikes me as there's something very wrong if the school is not responding to that kind of thing. Thank you. Sorry.
Gillian, did you want to come in on that point? Yeah. Sorry.
Yes. Sorry. Just two little things, please. First off, I was interested in the mention of the environment team. With regard to fly tipping and things like that, where I live in Burley Ward, quite a few of you know I have a lot to do with Burley as well, but I go across the whole east, the Silkstone Ravine and beyond. And there's a lot of residences, particularly back onto the woods there, and they dump the garden rubbish there. Like there was somebody had a new fence last year and the full privet hedge went in the woods. We do get the occasional kitchen units and everything, but it's generally garden waste. Where is there something we can do about that? Because it is literally from one end of the ravine to the other. Any properties that back near to it, all their garden rubbish goes into the woods.
Tony? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That's wrong one. There was a green bin collection service that was free at one point, and that would be something that I would be advocating. If we could bring that back, that would be something that would be brilliant, because I think a lot of people now, they don't want to pay to have the green waste emptied.
No,
now, we're not the only authority that have to pay for green bins, and I don't suppose we'll get very far with it, but it is one answer to fly tipping of garden waste, and that is because we don't have a free bin collection service anymore. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And my second little aside, sorry, got hold of it, I'm not letting go now. No, again, sort of look very closely with the littering thing and everything. There's a mention of school children and everything. At Burley Spa, thanks to the council, we've now been given permission to fundraise to get a stone-faced creative giant placed down at Burley Spa, which the whole point of it to us is to engage the kids to create a sense of ownership and belonging within their area, and hopefully lead on to greater projects, and then beginning to realise that this is their area and their ownership of it is really, really important, because it's theirs to look after for the future. Cheeky little ask, is there any point in us applying to the local area committee to get some funding, to help us along the way? Yes, it's £5,000 we need to raise. We're happy to raise as much as we can, but would we be able to apply for a little bit of help towards the
There's nothing wrong with trying, is there?
I like that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add, we had a little meeting with the Burley Spa team to have a look at some of the plans that they're putting together for the old Burley Spa bathhouse, and it's amazing, the plans that are being put together. And I think there are some little booklets going around. So if anybody's interested, please do pick one up. And if you want to volunteer, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to have you volunteering as well. But of course, do talk to us about any potential funding bids as well, and we'll try and find the best way to help you out. Yeah, Gillian.
Yeah, it's just in answer to the question about schools. So we have an education officer, an environmental education officer at Amey, who's more than willing to go out to schools, both primary and secondary, to do environmental assemblies, litter picks and the ilk. The problem is we obviously can't enforce that on schools. They have to be willing to take us up on it, but we're more than happy to approach any school that anybody feels that's in need of that education.
That's something really worthwhile as councillors, as probably encouraging our local schools to get involved.
Definitely. Nick?
I think I'm right in saying this, because I nearly got hung the last time I mentioned it. The council has a policy of not prosecuting children for dropping litter. And I mean, I'm a great believer in if you do something, there should be consequences for what you do. But as my understanding is, we don't prosecute kids for dropping litter. And I do think that if little Mary came home one day with a note saying, "Here, Dad, this is for you, it's for £65. What do you think?" You know, it might just change a few attitudes.
I went to the same school as you, Nick. I think I went to the same school as you.
Do we have any more questions? If we go, I think somebody behind, and then we'll come back to you, Roger Lake.
Sorry, it's not a litter picking question, it's just representing Springwell panel, and one of the questions that's come up this week is a number of residents have raised complaints with the ASB to the council and to the police just about what's happening on Drake House in terms of the vehicles, doing the constant donuts, etc. Just wondered if there was any update. I know it's previously been raised before, and there was talk about trying to close the gates up to Drake House and stop it happening, but I just wondered if there were any developments on it.
Thank you for that. Now, we have had a meeting recently about this, and I think that we're slowly making some progress, but I'll pass over to Councillor Ian Horner.
Yeah, I know the MP and the councillors have all been involved in this. The problem is it's the businesses that own Drake House that don't want to close the gates. And we've got no power to force them to do that. There is a problem that one business actually does nighttime restocking, so they don't want the gate closed because their staff can't get in. But everybody's been pushing this. I know the police have, everybody else. Indeed, actually, I had some casework from the custody sergeant about this as well. So we're as frustrated about it as you are. It literally is that the management there will not agree to close the gate. And looking at the gate, it doesn't look like it's been closed in a month of Sundays. So, you know, it is something that I know that various people have been pushing hard on, but they just don't seem to be interested.
Yeah, we can carry on pushing out. I'm sure that will come up at our regular meetings with the police and other stakeholders as well. Anybody else want to come in? Oh, Tony, yeah.
Yeah, I know I had a meeting with Clive Betts only a few weeks ago about this because I've had complaints about it. It's a nuisance up there, and it's exactly what Councillor Horner has just said. We can't enforce it, but what we can do, we can try and put pressure on them to get that gate closed in the evening. And my view would be at the last place to close up there, which I would believe would be McDonald's. They would have the responsibility to close that gate afterwards. But to get them to do it is another thing. I don't know about the delivery drivers that Councillor Horner has mentioned, but surely if we're going to have that gate closed, which I feel we should do, then they will need a key to open the gate and lock it again when they come out. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor.
Just to clarify that, it's a 24-hour business, McDonald's at Crystal Peaks, on the Drake House. And the gate is further on to the Drake House. It literally is just after McDonald's. But I think it's incumbent of all of us as local councillors to put some pressure on these businesses, because I live at Waterthorpe near the school. No, I haven't. I've moved, haven't I? But not far from the field anyway. And I can hear it. Yeah, and I can hear it in the evening. So, you know, it's a real bad nuisance that we all need to put pressure on about, yeah.
Definitely. Amazon are looking at delivering parcels by drone. Surely somebody can invent a gate that closes itself.
Yeah.
Sorry, please, to coming in on this.
Sure. No, I just on Mick's point, talking about £65 fines. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm coming to that. In late 90s in Texas, they had a slogan, don't mess with Texas.
Yeah.
Underneath it said, violation, $1,000. We are not serious about it.
Yeah, you raise a good point. There was also a lot of marketing and research that went into that slogan, wasn't there? Because they found that people were proud to be from Texas, so they made the Don't Mess with Texas to play into that. And I think maybe Sheffield needs to think outside the box and think what is it that makes us proud, and use that as our marketing campaign.
Can I make it perfectly clear? I am not advocating that the police carry guns around.
We've escalated a bit now, haven't we?
Yeah, gone off track a bit.
Oh, yeah, okay. If you can give your name as well when you give the question, please.
Hello,
My name is Maurice Birch, and I'd like to speak to the meeting about Woodhouse West End Bowling Club. The word that I'm sure you'd read in this one then. We were formed when our green was taken away to build the retirement village. And we were moved voluntarily to the rear of Woodhouse West End Workmen's Club. And it's a perfect situation for us. It's very good. I'm talking about 2005, 2006. Money was set aside to build that green. And the council's told that and a bit more as well. But we were left with a bare green, not a single seat. Over the years, we have now got in excess of 70 seats permanent outside. We have a dozen well-upholstered mobile chairs for visitors who just want to sit in front and watch. We've got a brick-built shelter. We've got a conservatory. We've got sheltered hedging all around the green, all raised and funded by the members. It's a carpet, and now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. It's not a grass green, it's a carpet. First in Sheffield, first in South Yorkshire. Mainly used indoor, or for southerners, that's anybody below Chesterfield. Flat green. You just bolt one end, turn around, come back to the other. We're a crown green. Unfortunately, the carpet is now wearing. And a replacement, we will be looking at somewhere in the region of £60,000. So I'm asking for help and advice and support. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Just to confirm, is it the West End Bowling Club? Woodhouse, yeah.
Yeah. I call it the invisible sport.
Yeah.
Everybody's heard of it somewhere. But where is it? I've lived here all my life. I know they're into Bowling Green. That's what we're faced with.
I'm sure this is something that your local councillors can talk with you after the meeting, and we'll try and get something sorted. That's all right? Do you want to come in?
I mean, you should be very proud of what you've done down there, Maurice. I mean, we have chucked a few quid in every now and again to help you out, but most of what's down there is down to yourselves and the membership. And you know, you've taught kids how to play the game. Not only, you know, it's become a game that across all age groups, and I would happily sit down and try and find you some funding for that. I mean, I'm not sure whether there's a national organisation that we can talk to, but at least we can help you find out where to go, because off the top of my head, Mick next door to you is nodding his head, and he's putting his thumb up as well, so that's usually quite good when he does that. He's my go-to man, and he usually does produce the goods, so we'll have a chat collectively, see if we can help you out with that. Okay.
I would be remiss if I didn't recognise the work that the council have done.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
I realise you're getting a bit emotional because it's dear to your heart. It's a project that you should quite rightly be proud of, because you lost the green, but then you produced something much, much better than you had to start with. And the surround, it's a little gem, isn't it? And we can't afford to lose that. So, well done, and thank you for coming, and we will do whatever we can to help you find that money.
Thank you, Mick. Got a hand over there. Where's Scott gone? Yeah.
This lady, you stood behind her.
It's like, guess who, isn't it?
Thank you.
You can give your name and the ward that you live in as well, please.
Yeah, my name is Christine Titmus and I live at Hackenthorpe. We have a small park which is a previous school field. In that park is a community orchard, and it's been slow to take root fruit-wise. Last year there was quite a bit of fruit and local families were coming in and picking it. This year there was quite a lot of blossom, but I was not around for a few months, and then I went back in the park and all the lower branches had been cut off the fruit trees. Therefore, the fruit all grew at the top, making it impossible to reach. I've tried to find out who did it. No one seems to know. I want some guarantee that this will not happen for the next few years, because these small fruit trees are going to take a few years to recover from that culling of their lower branches. You know, the word community orchard didn't seem to mean anything to the people who did it. So I'd be grateful if someone could find out for me who did it and give some sort of guarantee that it's not going to happen again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's called Rainbow Park, after the previous school that was in there.
Sounds like parks and countryside, but we will take that away and get an answer for you, because you're right, that can't happen again. If it's a community orchard, it's a community orchard. It needs to grow something. So yeah, we'll take that away and we'll look into it for you. Oh, got a hand over.
Hello, thank you. I'll stand up. Hello, I'm John Revel. I'm the new sergeant for the Westfield and Woodhouse team based at Moss Way. Don't get fooled by Westfield and Woodhouse. We cover a large area, Bayton, Frechville, basically everybody who's here, we represent you. I'm new sergeant. I'm wearing inspector's pips tonight because I'm an acting inspector as well. Okay, I just want to chat about the Drake House issue with the cars. So, as council have already discussed, we have been having meetings about it. I believe we've got another one in the pipeline coming up in the next week or so. We're going to discuss with various partners about what we can do about it. Main issue has been covered about this gate, but there are things that we are trying to do in the background to try and make things easier. Not trying to big myself up or out like that, but you probably stood here, so some of you are going to be sat there thinking another copper's turned up at this meeting. You're just getting its usual waffle that he always gives. I grew up in S12, I grew up in Frechville, I lived in S20 for a while. I don't live there anymore, but I've worked here for the last 10 years. So I've got a bit of an interest. I've still got family living in S12, and I've got family living very near Drake House who are moaning about these cars as well. So I'm getting it neck from all angles. What we are doing, we've got a small team. We are paying it passing attention. I know most of the issues are during the evening, which we don't always work in the evenings. So what we have done, myself and Lily, we've been in touch with our road policing inspector, like the traffic cops, the interceptors you see on the TV. We're asking them if they can get passing attention because they work 24/7. So during the night, they're giving it passing attention. I've given them the added sweetener that there's a McDonald's nearby, so if they want to fly by, they might get a coffee, okay? But, yeah, or a burger. So that's an incentive for them. I'm just joking, obviously. We want to get them up there. We want to get in these people's ribs. We know it's causing people problems. We're slightly limited as a neighbourhood team because the traffic department have specialist equipment, such as equipment that can tell whether tinted windows, I know it sounds really daft, whether tinted windows are too tinted, because that's something we can give them a fixed penalty for, something we can report them on summons for. Also, what was the other thing you said to me again, really? Exhaust monitors, about the loud exhaust that do my head in. My car sounds like that. I take it to the garage because it sounds like it's broke. But those kind of things that we don't get issued. So I'll come to the council. If you want any funding you want to give our way so we can get some for our team, because I know the Manor team have got some, we can always try that. I thought it worth a sales pitch. But we are trying as best. That gate did used to be closed. As I say, I've been at Mossway now for 10 years, and that did used to be closed every night, and it solved most issues. But we know that there's some hesitancy to get it closed. But we are trying for you. So, but please, what we'll keep saying is, I know 101's a pain in the backside to report anything. There is an online reporting tool. We are revamping the online reporting tool to try and keep traffic away from 101. But if there's anything happening, you've got to report it to us. I know it can be a slog, and I've been sat on 101 wanting to report stuff in past. But please report it, because every time an incident gets logged, you might not see us straight away, but these hotspots get highlighted to us. So I spoke to a lady the other week about some antisocial behaviour up Occupation Lane. And she's like, we've been having it for 20 years. I said, we've only got 3 reports. Well, we can't get through on 101, it takes a long time. It's a pain in the backside, but please report it to us, because that's how we know where we need to put as cops. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. And just to say, I know you're joking about funding in a way, but crime and community safety is one of our key priorities as a local area committee. So if you do have any ideas, we will look into funding them. I know we're looking at getting a drone for the police force to use in the southeast, because like the police are under-resourced. So anything we can do to help, we certainly will look into it. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we have funded speed guns and things. Yeah. Perfect. So I think that's all the public questions that we've got. So something that has come up in our local area committee priorities is parks and open spaces, because we all love where we live, and one of the main reasons for that is the green and open space that's just nearby. So we've got a few presentations for you tonight. I believe the first one is from Parks and Countryside. Sorry, I haven't got your name.
I'm Stuart.
Is it all set up and ready to go? I'm hoping so. You can never rely on technology. Oh, it's working. Wow. There we go. I was just about to speak ill of technology and it's not working.
Right. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I'm at that awkward stage in life where I'm doing this, so I apologise because it's very new to me. So, yes, I'm just going to do an overview of green spaces in the southeast of the city, and just give a bit of a context of the service situation that we and me and my colleagues find ourselves in with partners and friends groups and communities that we work with in the southeast, but also the context around the city too. So, if we just look at what we have there, this is the kind of the extent of the estate that we have in terms of parks and countryside across Sheffield, and we've got 4,000 hectares of land to manage. Within that, a significant number of city parks that destination sites like the Botanical Gardens, Millhouses, and Encliffe. So, and then beyond that, we've also got a significant amount of naturalistic space from Ecclesall Woods to the Shirebrook Valley in the southeast. Some significant scale of green space of all types, and within that we have a significant amount of facilities, both the traditional kind of infrastructure that we're managing, the paths, the bins, the gates, the fences, but there's also obviously all the good stuff that people kind of can engage with much better within a green space, like the playgrounds, the tennis courts, the multi-use games areas, the bike tracks, the boating lakes, if you're at Millhouses Park as well. So it's a significant body of stuff that we manage. We're also trying to obviously all the time improve and sustain the quality of those facilities, improving player value, making things more accessible, making the funding work better as well, and part of that is the bit at the bottom here, which is cafes and toilets. Part of getting people to feel more comfortable and able to stay longer in a green space is to have a cup of tea and maybe have a wee. So with that, it's good to have toilets and cafe and kiosk type facilities. So we've also been trying to grow that where we can across the estate. So Myself, I'm the Green Open Spaces Service Manager, and I'm responsible for a lot of the development work that goes on around the city. Also responsible for the playgrounds team, performance and data, that kind of stuff. Things to do with the strategic side of development as well. But I have, in the management team that we have, we're kind of split up into 4 areas. So there's my area, and then we have Simon, who leads up the Parks and Public Realm team, who are responsible for a lot of the, obviously the grass cutting, the litter picking, the day-to-day management of a lot of our park sites and countryside sites. Then we have a countryside manager who's Rowan Longhurst, and she's obviously, a lot of people might know her in connection with the Owlerthorpe site in particular around here, but obviously she's responsible for the ranger team, allotments, the countryside managers, the woodland managers who help manage the estate, and coming to a slide soon, the tree managers as well, which obviously community woodlands and the tree management of the city is really critical, and obviously with things like ash dieback, it's also an ongoing challenge to how we manage safely that estate and sustain the tree stock that we have. We've also got Joe Pearce, who's our business partnerships manager, and so we're talking about growing things like cafes and concessions, ice cream vans and things like that. Her and her team help develop that. Both income generation, which is part of the sustainability of the Parks and Countryside Service, but obviously, as I've talked about, it's also we're trying to get things in our parks with a commercial element, which also benefit directly the users of those facilities as well. So those are the 4 kind of key areas that we manage, or management areas, and obviously above all of that is the head of service, which is Ruth Bell, and Ruth sends her apologies. She's on leave today, but she would have liked to have been here. We're doing a number of these black meetings at the minute, and she'll be covering a number next week. So just another bit of the context of the situation that we find ourselves in at the minute. Our budget situation has not been going well, I would say, based on the slide, but obviously that's a challenge for all Parks and Countryside services across the country, and obviously the Sheffield City Council, like other local authorities across the country, are in kind of dire straits in terms of the budget context that we find ourselves in. We have been trying to grow our income, as I've discussed, to kind of balance where we can the loss of the direct kind of revenue support, but obviously trying to manage 4,000 hectares of land on kind of £3 million isn't an easy job. And obviously, alongside that, we have, which is quite rightly, the expectations people have across Sheffield for the places that they live are really keeping high and getting more in terms of what people are expecting in terms of the quality and the usability of the green spaces. So yeah, and I think probably COVID's had a significant impact on that. People's local spaces have become a lot more important to them, and so what we are all trying to do is grow the quality of those local spaces as well as having destination sites which draw people in from around the city. Just talking about, well, where does all the money go? We spend it on trying to make things look good. So, like with the botanical gardens and a lot of the quality green flag sites, we still try and do bedding displays and things like that where we can. They're very reduced from what they used to be, and focused on key sites, obviously like the botanical gardens as well. Obviously, bowling greens and other types of sports and recreational facilities do take a lot of resource to kind of keep good quality, so they're fit for purpose and use. But the other side to the green space management challenge is the litter, as we talked about already tonight, the fly tipping, which is it's a collective issue, which maybe no one's direct personal responsibility, but it is something that we all do a lot to support in terms of keeping our sites clean, welcoming and safe, but obviously it does take a lot of resource time to do. Obviously, we also can get some significant antisocial behaviour issues, which can take a lot of our resource time as well. Repairing, taking away damaged play equipment or facilities after miscreant activity that can happen on sites, especially sites that aren't overlooked, and usually where we have sites where there's eyes on the site, windows looking over, streets looking over. People's behaviour is usually a lot better in those situations. So where we're designing new facilities like playgrounds, like the Westfield Park one, we try to make sure that we put it in a location that's going to have a much better chance of survival and hopefully to prosper as well. So cover across the city. So ash dieback in Sheffield is having a significant impact on trying to keep the city, the streets, the pathways and parks safe, because obviously we do need to manage the trees. We don't want to take them all down. We are it's a watching brief to see how ash dieback affects the trees and how long we can sustain the trees that are affected in an upright position before we have to take action. So we do assess the quality of our green and open spaces as best we can. In the southeast, there's 126 approximate recreational sites. We've got about 2/3 of those sites which we consider to pass what we call the Sheffield standard, which is a quality standard which is based on Green Flag, the national quality standard. It's about safe, clean, welcoming and accessible. So we're just trying to make these sites fit for people to enjoy the space. We've still got a way to go in the southeast, but we have come a long way in the southeast as well. When we first started our green and open space strategy in 2010, about 1/3 of the spaces in the southeast passed the Sheffield standard. Now 2/3 do. So we have come a long way, but we've still got a way to go to get all of our sites to a decent quality standard. The way we do that is focus on certain kind of target hardening when it comes to kind of fly tipping and how we manage sites to kind of tackle kind of difficult issues that affect the quality of those sites, but we also try and improve them through capital improvement projects. Obviously, the more people we can have and the more variety of people we can have from the local community using their green spaces, the better, because then that's more ownership, and that makes and then with more ownership comes pride, and with that, hopefully, there's going to be fewer incidents of antisocial behaviour and damage. Southeast, just like many parts of Sheffield, is blessed with a significant amount of space, and a lot of that is good quality, ecologically rich space. I've also just put this slide in here, which I think the slides will share as well, just to kind of indicate the range of recreational significantly involved in making these sites work. We've heard a lot tonight about the litter pickers and people who are really trying to look after their local spaces. There is the SCCT, which Sheffield Conservation Countryside Trust, who are really very active in the southeast as well, and they work with a number of volunteers. Parks and Countryside support that group to do a lot of work across the southeast, doing that classic conservation work. We use funding like some of the local area, the LAC, like SIL funding to support some of our ecological interventions, and obviously there's the Southeast Environment Group, which is also a real core part of that as well. Community Forestry are doing some really good stuff, and I understand that they'll be planting a hedge with volunteers in Lindybank soon as well. We've heard a bit about the Althorpe development site tonight, and just to say that Rowan and her team have been working on. There's other funding that's coming into the mix on this to support ecological management. One of which is, people might have heard the term biodiversity net gain, which is to do with when developments happen, we have to leave, or the developer needs to enhance the ecological value by 10% above what was there before the development. So that's bringing in further funding to support enhancements of ecological habitat enhancements. So that's just a few more kind of, I've just done a few pictures there actually of some orchard pruning. And hopefully this isn't the orchard that was talked about at the park, Rainbow Park earlier. But I think it's this is a Baton orchard. Althorpe, sorry, yeah. But this was, I think, it was to some extent, the level of volunteering that goes into the southeast area in terms of some of the key sites that are supported by local people in terms of the litter picking, the tree and management, the education sessions, the meadow management. We've also got a number of allotments in the southeast of the city, and just flagging 14 sites, 402 plots. There's actually only 21 of those plots are unlettable currently, and that's usually to a lot of kind of legacy issues with those particular plots and areas. As we talked about here, there's £15,000 actually being spent on fly tipping removal at Victoria Road allotment. So, that for a tightly strapped service, that kind of cash is a lot of money to spend, and obviously we could spend easily that and more to keep sorting the problems out on some of these sites. I think when James Musgrove, who's the interim allotment manager, sent a bit of information about that, he also said that Elm Crescent really needs water supplies, so that was just a bit of a shout out from him as well. Right, so the other thing in my area that we do is green space development, and so these are just flagging some of the recent green space developments that have happened, which obviously isn't just ourselves and our project team that are doing that. These are all, I think, generated through community interest and drive to want to see these sites improved. Rolling Acres, I think they might be represented tonight. Obviously instrumental in the refresh, the renewal of the play facilities at the Rolling Acre Park, which is just fabulous. Mick Rooney's here tonight. I don't know if which great to see you with Cardwell Drive, which is looking lovely. I know it's been a real challenge, this project, and broken a few people, but we have got there with the improvements that at Cardwell Drive, which I think is looking really good. Tony Askins, one of our project officers, is involved with the Freshfield Pond project, and this is the playground has finally had a refresh, probably after God knows how many years. The Friends group there have been really desperate for that for a long time. But that's not the end of the project. There's also going to be a kind of a small scoot track going to be put in, hopefully not too soon after Christmas and the New Year. So there's still further improvements to do there. And there's been a long kind of period of Shirebrook Valley improvements, starting with the visitor centre and then access improvements, and then the car parks recently been, in this financial year, been sorted as well. So really good stuff. Further afield, I put Hollands End Park in because we do sports facilities, and from a planning perspective, actually, the catchment of a sports area is more like a couple of kilometres, and obviously Hollands End is on the doorstep of the southeast. So it's just flagging that there is some really high quality tennis courts just being renewed at that site. And actually, again, with the Friends group, they're instrumental there in the Veolia bids to renew the playground, which that work is currently on site as we speak. I put the Westfield Park playground in, which was completed a number of years, but obviously that was a really great achievement from the group, which is just fabulous, to put something where we didn't have anything before for a really important facility, which was a big gap for that community. So and obviously that's not the end of the project there, because the Westfield community are wanting the castle site to be improved for more youth-related facilities. So this is just flagging here a number of green space improvements that are up and coming at Handsworth, at Thorpe Green, at Heathlands, at Isleworth again. The developer there is part of the planning requirements to put a new playground in at that site. And again, that is another part of the city which has got a lack of play facilities of any quality in that kind of vicinity. So that will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, a really good intervention when that comes along. Sorry, this is the last slide. So just to say that, the future, what we're trying to do with improvements, we are trying to improve the quality. We'd love a green flag site in the southeast of the city. We don't have one yet. The Shirebrook Valley is the one that we really like to work on. The bottom of the slide there, it's in the species survival bid. We put up just over £1 million species survival bid application in for the Shirebrook Valley and surrounding green spaces. It's a landscape scale intervention that we'd like there. And, if we can get that kind of, if that bid's successful, we'll find out early in the new year. That could be a real kind of injection of resource into the sites around the Shirebrook Valley, which could really help bring that site up to the green flag standard, which would be awesome. Obviously, there's a whole range of recreational. We're not all doing it by ourselves, but we do need to keep an eye and support those kind of interventions, and it does take a lot of resource to do them right, so people don't get what they're hoping for, and that it's done in the right way, very, very well consulted, and all the permissions in place. And I know we're working with Anthony here. Some great stuff been going on at the Bowman Drive bike track there, and there's now the next phase of that is, well, can we get an entry-level facility in to support kids on that site as well? So many things we could talk about, but I better stop there.
Thank you for that. And you mentioned that it's four full-time equivalent members of staff, but you listed so many great things that are happening just in our areas. So, and I think that's probably a testament to some of the hard work that the communities do as well. Like, I know Rolling Acres Park have done a fantastic job to get their park going. And we've seen lots of friends groups around the South East. And if you have any ideas, do come and tell us, because it's a lot of these projects start from ideas from you, and you have to be persistent, but you can get things done. But you have to come and talk to us first. So I'm sure as people are giving their presentations tonight, some questions might pop into your head, but I believe that you are all staying around after to chat to people.
Yeah, and there's also Mick Ambler, I should point out. He's the area manager. He's responsible for a lot of the parks in this part of town and the green spaces. So probably a lot of people know him already.
But if you have to go before we break out, I believe that there are some question pieces, some question forms that you can fill in, and we'll get them to the right people and get your questions answered. Do any of the councillors want to add anything to that? Tony?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Mentioning the parks that have been established, the new parks, and obviously the friends groups that have been involved in all those. And I wanted to make a special mention of the one at the playground at Westfield. It's been fantastic. It really has, and it's well used, and people have appreciated it. There's been no significant damage done to that park at all. And that's obviously down to the fact that it's in an open space where the old pocket parks were hidden behind houses. This is open space, same as the one at Waterthorpe, open space, but anybody can see them driving past on the bus or anything like that. So I just wanted to sort of commend the people, apart from our own people, that have contributed to that park and other parks around the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail?
Yes, just to add to that, the Westfield Park would not have happened without local people. It was, I think, specifically two main people that were residents, not political, just local residents who wanted a park in their area, and they worked so hard to make it happen. And the Rolling Acres group were parents who got together. I'm not saying that, what I'm trying to get across is that we can work with you. And if you've got ideas, come and talk to us, because all of us sat around this table would want to help projects in our areas, because it's so important that young people do have somewhere to go. And talking about Waterthorpe Park, we're looking to put some money into that in the next, whenever. It should have been this year, that's not happened. But we want to work with parents for them. And we have had, I think, we did do a survey. Oh, it's Scott, actually. We did a survey at Waterthorpe to see what we can add to it. But it is about local people having an input. It makes such a big difference. Thank you.
That's the purpose of the local area committees, isn't it? Being able to have that conversation at a local level, and knowing what roads and what streets you're talking about. That's the great thing about having the local councillors here.
Yeah.
Anne?
Yeah, on Rolling Acres, it's the Friends of Rolling Acres, and the group that got together, as Gail said, started off with some parents, but it shows how the community can work together, because the fundraising that they did and the help from the council and from the Parks and Recreation, it just shows that if you do really want to get something off the ground, you can. And Rolling Acres, if anybody wants to go up and have a look, is a marvellous example of how to spend your money. And Bait and Trust helped them initially as well to get them off the ground. So there's always people round and about that can help you in any project you want to get going. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for all the work you and your team do as well.
Housekeeping Park? You mean where the playground's likely to go?
No, where is Housekeeping Park? I've worked in Housekeeping for 23 years now.
That was just what I was calling the playground. That's what I meant by that. Yeah. No, there isn't a park. I didn't know what else to call it. I thought outdoor playground maybe.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
So I believe we've got a presentation from housing as well coming up. Perfect.
Hello, good evening everyone. Can you hear me? I don't like microphones generally, so I just generally like to speak like this. So, I'm Simon Griffiths. I'm lead estate officer for South East Housing Team. We've just been asked to put a presentation together. Me and Gail will introduce himself when I come on to him. Just talking a bit about the work we do. The council is obviously a massive organisation, lots of different teams. And it's just to explain the nuts and bolts, really, what we do. I'm very much a frontline worker. Every day I'm out on the estates doing the work. So, on this side of the city, I manage 416 housing blocks, which are all council tenants predominantly, but obviously people have bought properties within them and we manage them as well. So, a large part of my work is grey work, which basically refers to the ground being grey. And then, long before I joined the council team, we used to manage the green space as well on housing land, but that was contracted out to Parks, who we work very closely with now to manage that as well. So, just to give you an idea on the South East, you've got a team leader, Fran, who's here tonight, who's my boss, and then you've got myself, the lead estate officer. We've got Dave, who's our senior housing officer, who'll explain a bit about his role in this structure. So I manage a team of 9 estate officers, and I've just put in there about the equipment we use. We don't use any fancy high-tech equipment. We've literally got 4 flatbed trucks that carry a ton of waste each, and that will become significant later when I go on to explaining what we do in terms of our job. So yeah, it's a big area we cover. There's a lot of land, and Dave will explain a bit more about. We cover our bits of land. Sometimes you say housing land, and there are odd bits you think, why is that housing? But within the council structure, the mapping structure, it is ours to manage, and we do when we can. So the work we do as a team, we do the block cleaning. We clean the communal areas of the council blocks. We have 2 guys who go around on a 13-week rota and do all the communal areas. We have a piece of kit called an iMop, which is like an electronic mop, cleans the floors, they'll clean the cobwebs, clean the windows, and they'll do that in every block, hopefully hitting that once every 13 weeks. It's difficult times because some blocks are not as good as others in terms of cleanliness, which takes longer. And also we have reactive cleans where we have to send those guys out to like bodily fluids and that sort of thing. We have to go and clean up as a reactive thing. It's a real problem because we do get a lot of people calling up saying my block's dirty. Well, it's not been cleaned for 12 weeks, so it's going to be dirty. We'll get to it when we can. But we do try and respond to people when we can, when obviously people have got concerned. The big thing we do, though, is the next one is cleaning bin rooms. This is a massive part of my work. I'd probably say about 90% of the work we do is around cleaning bin rooms and communal waste. Unfortunately, we have an issue across the city that a lot of our council flats and buildings overproduce waste, and the bins can't cope with the capacity, and we're kind of stuck in a bit of a cycle at the moment of the system needs to be reviewed, but for various reasons out of my control, we're stuck with it basically. So I just got some loose figures the other day, and in 2 months my team removed 90 tonnes of domestic waste in 2 months from South East area, and that's not counting the dry goods in terms of sofas and stuff. That goes to another site, but it gives you a scale of the amount of waste we remove from the flats. We do graffiti removal, and again this is on housing properties when we can. And we also do a bit of green work every now and again, because some of it does still fall into our area, in particular around drying areas, that sort of thing. And we do also clean the moss of the drying areas, look after that sort of spacing area. And emptying dry stores for the care homes around our area. When they get full of items that need to be disposed of, we'll go up and clear them out. And in terms of the waste and where it all goes, it all gets managed by Fletcher's Waste Management. That's where we take all our waste to be disposed of, and that's where it's all sorted, recycled, put into the appropriate places. And then Ford Environmental take all our sort of tyres, fridges, the more toxic stuff, and they'll do all what they need to do to make sure it's disposed of. Obviously, this is all at a great cost to the council. It's all done through these companies that do the work for us. So this is just an idea. The main point of this graph I just want to show is that the first column, the removal of communal waste, that's from council blocks. You can see how much of the work is in that area where we're just removing waste from blocks, because, like I said, the bins can't cope with the capacity. Viola are paid to empty the bins and provide a bin. That is the service they're paid to provide. So any extra waste outside the bins, we have to manage from the council, and that's the way the structure works at the moment. And you can see all the other sort of odd jobs we do going down the line, but yeah, it's certainly communal waste is the big thing we get involved with. And these are just a few of I've got hundreds and hundreds of pictures like this on the phone of the work we've done. The one at the top right, that was Monday morning in one of the block flats, and that's commonly what we find. And we'll start on a Monday with going to bin rooms like that, and by the end of the week they'll all be clear, and then next week we go in and it's the same thing again. We're just constantly going round clearing up. That was again last week, the one on the far left, bin room, again just overproduced. We do have a lot of frustrations. We do try and manage this. We try and look for identifying things to tell us who's putting the rubbish there, but with the amount of work we have, we just don't have the time to follow it up all the time. This year, again, the property come vacant. And so
is that a house, not a flat?
Yeah, that's a house. That's part of the housing. So we were asked, our team, we cover a wide variety of work, generally housing, land, but we're very much on South East, we're a can-do team, and we always try and help out when we can. But yeah, it can be a lot to take on. Just next slide. This is the community room on Badger Estate. Again, it's some of the work we can do and we like to do, and we were asked to tidy the garden there. We just did that in the day. A bit of extra work. And we, as a team, we like doing stuff like that. It gives us, you feel like you're getting somewhere with that sort of work. So yeah, it was good to do that. And we do little bits like this all the time. If you just go on to the next slide, you'll see that, again, we do the odd bits. We're clearing garage sites when we can. Again, this is another issue we have, that we do manage a lot of garage sites, that unfortunately the garages have been demolished, but they're just dead space, and no one seems to know what to do with them. So we still try and look after them where we can, but generally we don't. We just leave them to it until someone says that you need to clear it, and then we'll clear it. That's a bit of work we did earlier this year, just cleaning that wall, for example. We do lots of little bits and odd jobs like that. This is just all the partners we work with. There is a central team that supports us with the waste management side of stuff and goes out and tries to educate people on bin use. We do find, though, grizzly people that just aren't interested in waste management, and when I mean that, it's recycling. We have a real issue with contamination. If there's any contamination in a brown or blue bin, it won't be emptied, and this then creates more waste. And we spend a lot of time resetting all these bins all the time. And we do educate, we sticker up the bins sometimes excessively to try and tell people to put the right stuff in, but I think unfortunately we're sometimes a victim of our own success, because we can be so efficient at resetting and moving stuff. People can't do it, tell the difference between the bin man and us, because we are very similar in the work we do, but it is different in many respects. Yeah, that's basically just a rough overview of our housing work, and I'll let Dave talk a bit about the tree side and the other work we get involved with. But I'll be around if anyone wants to ask me any questions. But thanks for listening.
Thank you.
One of the things that we used to do in terms of trying to stop fly tipping was bring out your rubbish days. And I'm just wondering, in terms of what the cost is of all this removal of excess rubbish is, compared to us purchasing as a local authority X number of days of bring out your rubbish days in certain parts of the city where it might be worse than others, because some of that is not, that's not household, that's not excess production, it's people chucking the stuff that they don't want out because they can't be bothered to take it to either a recycling spot or to the place on Bacon Road. So I just wondered if as a council we might want to consider, using the money that's been spent over and above what's been budgeted for these things, and bring back your rubbish days. At the end of the day, it might actually save us money, I don't know. They were always very popular. And the other thing is, does the 10 items for what used to be 30 quid still exist?
For 35 now.
How many?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get 2, yeah. But after that, if there's any more, they have to pay.
No, I used the service many times when I was throwing stuff away, big stuff like old settees. Used to be so many items for about 30 quid. Does that still exist?
I know there's a service that's provided by Veolia for a council tenant, free collection, or 1 yearly free collection. But when it gets around flats, a lot of the time it doesn't get time to settle before we get round and collect it. So it's a bit of not a great, because people don't want it to be left there that long. We continually get complaints from residents. So some of the times I don't think that service gets acted upon, and we end up sort of supplementing that and doing the work for them. So that money, I don't know whether that is
a service I used on a couple of occasions when I moved home, and I realised that there was a lot of stuff in the house I didn't want, and it was large stuff. It was tables, settees, chairs, that sort of thing. And you could get it was 10 for 30 quid, but obviously it's not going to be that now. I just wondered if this service existed.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it still exists.
I think it is, but it's above and beyond the free one, isn't it? So I think people are I don't think people are that happy, going to pay out for it. So what we tend to see is that it just gets dumped onto our toes. And because we haven't got the element of proof where we can differentiate who's actually done it, if there is people that we can identify that's done it, then we'll work with environmental services, and we've got history of getting good results and getting people prosecuted in that respect. But a lot of the time it's unidentifiable, so we haven't got really anywhere to go.
Glynis?
Yeah, I think actually Mick's got a point. You're not going to ring up and get the council to come and take a cot away, or some cushions, or some odd bits. But if you knew that once a month there's going to be a skip somewhere, you'd take it there instead of throwing it or dumping it somewhere else. If you have a skip to have some work done on your house and it's left, it's full the next morning, not by your rubbish, but by everybody else's. And if you haven't got a car, you can't get to it. So I think really having a skip once a month somewhere would be a good idea.
You're not allowed on
That's a good point.
No, you
Yeah,
can't.
I know we've pursued this before, this Bring Out Your Rubbish Days, we have, and up to now we've run up against a brick wall. But I do think it's something that we should try and pursue again to see if we can get that brought back. I don't know whether we'll be successful, but it's always worth a try.
Yeah.
Thank
Can
you.
I just add to that?
Sorry, I'm pretty sure that we've been down this route before with the area, and the cost is absolutely massive to them, basically. It's not really a sensible option. There's nobody from Germany to sort of substantiate what I'm saying, but we have had this, on countless times.
I had a flight from Skip not that long ago, 45 quid.
Yeah, it is a problem. I mean, how do we solve all this flighty thing? I mean, I came on my way tonight, a fridge at side of the road, for goodness sake. It's so frustrating. My phone's full of stuff like that. I have to keep reminding myself to get rid of photographs. But with the Bring Out Your Rubbish Days were for council tenants, and you're right, Mick, in the early 2000s it was, I think, twice a year they used to Bring Out Your Rubbish Days. But if you're not a council tenant, you still have the option to pay for somebody to pick up from the council your big items, because I've done that when I moved house, you're right. And I think the last time I paid it was £30 for 2 items. I don't know whether it's gone up or not. But people don't want to pay it. I mean, I think I've looked at getting someone to come and pick it up privately, and it was a hell of a lot more money than what the council charged. So it's well worth it. Perhaps we don't advertise it enough. I don't know what the answer is to fly tipping, but we've got to do something. If people knew they could get it collected for a reasonable cost, they probably won't carry it down the road and tip it in front of somebody else's house. I don't know what the answer is.
I've seen a few hands go up. I am conscious of time, but as long as you promise to be quick, we'll get through.
Well, it's just to say, litter picking team here again. We've been asking for Bring Out Your Rubbish to Skips for a long time. And if you already use Fletcher's Waste Management and you have a contract with them for it, and theirs is £45, and you're doing a lot, what's to stop that as being an option? That just seems to be common sense to me. But I don't want us to leave here tonight without knowing who we are meant to contact in terms of picking up the fly tipping that we've collected, which we used to do in advance by contacting Andy Machin. We're not leaving here tonight until we know who to contact. And how...
Shall I get the doors now?
And to at least get a response would be nice. And to know approximately how long it's going to take. We're happy to do that in advance.
I think that's
I'll leave it there.
That's probably a question that Mick will be able to answer for you. This is specifically on housing sites. No. Like I say, if you're collecting your waste off in a parks managed area, then yeah, probably Mick will be able to. If you're on housing. Yeah, I understand that, and I have a lot of sympathy with parks, and this is like one of the slides that I'll be showing you in a bit. It's you know where it's coming from, the waste, but it's like you can't identify who the people are, and they won't get rid of it in the sort of the normal ways. They won't take it to the tip. Like you said, they Bring Out Your Rubbish Days and the skips were a really, really good service. They sort of fell by wayside. I don't know if it were a cost element. But I think that's probably what it was down to. But whether it's something that could be revisited, or whether the payment comes from and however it gets done, but it was a really good service.
I think that's something that we probably need to ask a few more people in the town hall about as a local area committee, and because it's come up a few times. So I think we do need to all. Alison, do you want to?
Yeah, I was thinking, Kurtis, could we do that as a local area committee? Because Mick and I were just having a quick chat. If you guys are spending 90% of your time picking up rubbish, surely to put some skips out would be cheaper than that. or at least would take off some of it. So
Yeah,
if we could pursue that as a local area committee, that would be really useful.
yeah, I think that I know that we have a budget as a local area committee and we can have a look at that, but this is probably also something Fran might be able to take away to the governance committee, which is how do we as a local area committee then feed into policy making as a wider strategic thing? Yeah, it'll be waste and so we can, or it could even be housing. I'm not sure which committee it is. That's a problem, isn't it?
But we have got the right person.
Yeah, we've got the deputy leader of the council here, so it's definitely something that we need to take away. Sorry.
I can't shout. Stop. Pity there's no Burley councillors here, actually. Me and Karen McGowan actually did a proactive exercise a couple of years ago in that we wrote to tenants and residents, well, they were mainly residents actually, on Newstead, because they were experiencing quite a lot of fly tipping on the wasteland which they're now building on. So basically what we did was, we sort of, it was a bit of a carrot and a stick letter really, just to say, you know, what would happen if they were caught fly tipping, and also to give people alternatives. Now, as far as I'm aware, they've not actually experienced any more fly tipping since that went out. So I think some of it is quite a lot of education.
Yes, I think so.
Perfect.
Yeah,
is there somebody 2 rows behind, and then we'll move on?
She's got the ladies here, just waving her hand.
And then we'll move on after this, I think.
I appreciate that the rubbish is a major problem, but why aren't we putting more pressure on places like supermarkets to reduce packaging so that it's not there in the first place?
Yeah, it's a bit above our pay grade, that, isn't it?
I know, but couldn't we put pressure on the council to put pressure on the supermarket? It's a policy thing, and Councillor Crossland's just said that it's a policy problem. It needs to be pushed through that we need to reduce the amount of stuff that's being produced so we don't have to clear it all up.
Yeah, spot on. Again, that's something that we need to find a way of feeding back into the town hall, because it'll benefit the whole city if something like that's brought in. Yeah. And then, did we have another? Was it Dave? Sorry. Naturally. Oh, talking. Okay. Yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Dave May. I'm Senior Housing Officer for Estate Services in Area South East. This was down to what Mick was going on about in regards to land ownership and responsibility. I mean, this is a snapshot of what you will get on for the entire city. You'll get a mapping. There's a mapping system that logs all the ownership. So on that you can see where predominantly the orange areas, the housing. Then you've got all the Amey areas that's their responsibility. Others where on this map it'll be sold properties, and a little bit of parks land that's on there. So the vast majority of that is our responsibility to maintain. This is probably what people don't see in the background. We talked about tree inspection before. We have an officer who works at Hawks, Cookie and Moxon. So on a 3 to 5 year rolling programme, you'll go around and look at every tree that's on housing land and give it basically an MOT, a health check. So I think a lot of times in the background people don't see that happening. So we do get an amount of tree inspection requests in. A lot of it, there's nothing wrong physically with the trees, so it's not anything that we will act upon. Majority is either light deprivation, fruit drop, leaf drop. It's just we get a £12,000 a year budget, and obviously that's exasperated with the ash dive that was mentioned earlier. We have to pick that up. Any storm damage, which we've had no end of storms this year, and we've sorted out around £12,000 with like virtually nil. So you can see how we are really strapped in regards to doing tree work. We have to be really stringent and work within the criteria that we do. So provided that the healthy, safe, and they're not causing any structural damage vast majority of the time, we don't even touch them, and we haven't got the money to do any work apart from that. Go on.
I think that's another policy conversation we need to have, which is about the tree situation. Because I'm not prepared any longer to keep telling people that it's okay for them to have their lights on in the middle of the summer because there's a 40-foot tree outside their house that we put there and that we won't do anything about. That's just not an acceptable answer anymore.
Councillor Horner. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say as well, I know this is a kind of a controversial issue because my email inbox is full of casework like this, and I am conscious of time, so I am going to set a 5-minute deadline for all of us to... Ian?
I mean, following on from what Councillor Rooney said, he and I have talked about it a lot. I raised it with the leader of council because it is a matter of... It's a question of policy at council level. It's not good enough. There are trees that are growing to a very great height. I mean, we've just been through, and we're getting more and more of it now, high winds. There was a tree came down Eckington Way the other day, and it's not a... It's something about which there's a lot of agreement among the councillors, certainly in the South East, that we need to do something about, because as Mick rightly said, it's absolutely appalling that people have to leave their lights on all day because trees are blocking out the light. But if these trees keep growing to great heights, and I mean, where I live in Bayton, I can look out my window and see trees that you know, I'd hate if they ever came down, because they're going to not just, they're going to fall on people, they're going to fall on buildings, and we haven't managed trees in this city, it seems to me, for years. We've planted all these trees, and if you look after them, then they'll not be a problem, but we are storing up a problem for ourselves if we do not tackle this. Because as Councillor Crossland said, we're all getting casework about it all the time. I had an 80-year-old lady who had a tree that belonged to Parks that's crossing it into her garden. They can't do anything about it because that's the policy, and it's not good enough.
I mean, through all this, we're working to the management plan as set out by the council. So, like you said, we're fulfilling the obligation that has been set out to us, and we're working to that policy. So a lot of the stuff, and it's not us. We're just working to the guidelines that have been given to us. If that then changes, and there is a sea change in regards to what we are responsible to do, then obviously there'll need to be funding to come with that, because the current funding wouldn't carry out to do the sort of work that you may be advocating. So that's the thing that worries me. I mean, a lot of the side of it as well is the legalities of it. We know there's no right to light, isn't there? It's not a legal requirement for us to do that, and especially when you've got deciduous trees, you've got a percentage of the year where there isn't any leaves on and causing as much light deprivation, and that's generally the winter time. So when I can understand where you're getting, and this is one of the main things that I have a lot of dealings with, and it's hard. I seem to feel like I'm a broken record going out and coming out with the same spiel, but that's where we are.
Yeah.
I'll bring Gail in, and then Claire, and then we'll have to move on.
But equally, it is a problem that it's my biggest casebook thing is trees, and I've got 2 or 3 pieces of casework that you know about. 7 trees taller than a block of flats in a garden from where Jill sat to here. It is ridiculous. The problem is that the council have never looked after trees, and it is a policy issue, and it's something we need to talk about. I know it's not popular talking about trees in Sheffield because of the tree debacle, but there are some trees that need to come down. But it's so expensive. I had one of us senior officers, I was talking to him about it last week, about a specific tree, and he told me how much it would cost to take it out, and I was gobsmacked.
Sorry,
so your budget is probably...
what's frustrating listening to all the things tonight, and we've been on the receiving end of this when we were getting a load of flooding in the underpass. There's so many different departments, and they don't seem to talk to each other, and all we see is that there's one pot of money and you just get passed from pillar to post. It's not my fault, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. And why can you not all just have one department, one pot of money, and then, you know, and not have all this, you know, oh, I'm responsible for that, I've only got 12 grand, I'm responsible for that, I've only got that. To me, it just seems crazy. It's just all little silos, and that's my little bit, that's my little bit, and it's just for it.
Yeah. You're frustrated. You're frustrated. Think how we feel. We're trying to get this done. And I tell you, our inboxes and telephones are hot. But it's getting the people. It's getting the people it's getting the policy to do it. Without a policy, that they'll always come back and say, there's no money, we're not allowed to do it, you know. So that is something that we really need to get our heads around, because it's a problem it's storing up, and it's colossal at the moment. God knows what it's going to be like in a few years' time. Thank you, Chair.
It's worrying, it really is.
Yeah, just going back to what you say about the trees. I mean, this is legacy planting. You know, we're stuck with this. You know, they weren't planted yesterday. A lot of the newer estates, the amount of trees that were put on were ridiculous, with no sort of plan to thin them out. So you've got groups of like ridiculous amount of trees. There were no forward thinking in that. I mean, Westfield, halfway, you've got sort of a plot aside, half size of this room with about a dozen trees in. There should have been some sort of planning, but that I mean, how long ago was that? I mean, it was looking like late 70s, aren't we? Yeah. So we're left with a legacy of that small budget that's not increased. It's actually stayed at 12,000 for as long as I can remember. So we're just stuck with that and having to do what we can do with that money, and that's why we've got to prioritise to make sure the ones that are unsafe need to be pruned or felled, the ones that are causing structural damage, and then outside of that, the issues that you're talking about and raising, that's like, that, unfortunately for us, it's way down on our list of priorities. So that's where we're at. I know there's some sort of moves afoot in the background to increase the funding. I know there's some sort of moves afoot to look at altering the actual criteria they work to and the policy they work to, but currently, as it stands, we just work into the council tree strategy.
It's putting the money there to do it.
Yeah. And then you've got the environmental side of it. Would you be wanting to go out and fell those trees?
Right. So due to time, I think we're going to have to move on because we do have another presentation from Amey coming up. But speaking of trees,
we'll get out of it.
Yeah.
I think if I did my presentation, I think I'm going to be watering it down, and it's just not sensible for me to do it, to be fair.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not going to do that watch or anybody else just sit back.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I think when you mentioned the T word,
it's been really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this one is just a mapping system of a confirmed system. I mean, every single plot will be mapped. And that's every single plot broken down from woodland, shrub beds, hedges, grass spaces. So all that is, every single area will be cut, will have been measured up and divvied out. So some of those where you'll see the GV, that will be Amey's to do. So that's when you get to when you say it's ludicrous that we're cutting all that massive grass area, and then we're doing. Somebody else is coming along and doing that, but that's how it is, and that's down to the ownership side of it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's quite a lively discussion. I'm going to say everybody who gave presentations will be around after this. Do you want to stand up, Gillian, and just give the type of things that people can talk to you about? Just.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, I'm not.
We don't need obviously a whole but just
no.
if people obviously don't know what.
Like I say, I didn't really want to do just a whistle-stop tour of like what Amey does do. because I don't think I'm doing justice to the company or to yourselves. So basically, I mean, you'll all know that we had a private finance initiative back in 2012, and it's a £2 billion contract that's over 25. So technically, I'll not see it through till the end because I'll have retired by then. Thank God. So we cover everything that's on the street. That's it, pure and simple. So everything that Dave's just shown you up there. So everything with the yellow hatching, that's all adopted highway. We don't took any unadopted highway, so it is purely and simply adopted highway that we work on. So fly tipping, we will pick up. If unfortunately Sue leaves it on the edge of Flockton Park or in the woods, we won't come and pick it up, as she knows. We do a whole host of things. We do road resurfacing. We changed all the lighting, which caused utter chaos, and it was a very contentious issue right at the beginning of the first 5 years. So everything was changed from sodium to LED lighting, which, I mean, has proved so successful, and I haven't got facts and figures, but the outage is much better than sodium. We don't have half as many, or even, I wouldn't even say 10% of issues that we did with the sodium lights. Like I said, road resurfacing, again, the first 5 years was when we did the improvements, and the remaining of the contract, the 20 years, is the maintenance of Sheffield. So there is still roads that haven't been resurfaced, and there are roads that we've had to go back out and resurface again. We do grounds maintenance, so again, that's just verges, and that gets confusing in itself because we'll do the verge adjacent to the road, but if there's the road, a verge, a footpath, and then another bit of grass, you probably find that 9 times out of 10 that's housing. So that gets all very confusing, especially for you as residents, because you don't know where to go and who to go to. Bridleways, public rights of ways, that's not Amey's remit neither, although we are contracted to pick up rubbish. I'm sure the council website could be a lot more comprehensive in the advertising what we do and what we can't do, and make it a little bit easier for people to navigate, but that's just my personal opinion. As for trees, like I said, I'm doing a really, really quick, because I know everybody's eager to get off. Trees, we have the same constraints as housing, like parks, any other council service, in that we do 5 yearly surveys. We've got 2 tree inspectors for the entire city. We had 3, we've lost 1, we've not replaced him, so currently we have 2. We do yearly ash tree surveys, purely because of the ash dieback. We also run a programme, because as Gail said, the tree debacle. So we work very, very closely with Sheffield Street Tree Partnership, and within there we have 32 tree wardens who are all representatives of Sheffield. So can I urge people, if anybody here has a yen for trees, please can they contact me, because South East Sheffield are hugely underrepresented as far as street trees go. So they actually act, they're a volunteer group, but they sort of like act as our eyes and ears. So obviously our tree inspectors can only go out once every 5 years. If you see something, you know, if you are particularly interested in trees, if you think something's amiss with one, you can always report it to me, because I administer that group as well as my own day job. I am an area highways representative for Amey. Our senior management team call us the acceptable face of Amey. As I always say, they want to see me first thing in the morning, because I'm surely I'm not acceptable at all. Or at any other time, for that matter. We also do, like I said, I'm trying to do this sort of like off the cuff here. we also, Amey are very good in that we have a social value, sort of like contractual obligation. So every employee of Amey, not just in Sheffield, as Amey as a company, get 2 social value days, and that's where we can go and work out with local communities. Quite often it's hard to actually get people to engage with us. I'm sort of lucky in that I'm a bit pushier than most. So we have worked quite a lot with Cancer Research UK, who are our, sort of like our chosen charity. So I've done various things with them. I also was fortunate enough last year to go and help Hollins End Cricket Club dig a drainage channel so that they could have proper drainage put into their cricket field. So we do all sorts of things. So if anybody's, needs any help, so especially thinking of places like Rolling Acres Park, Heathfields Park, all the friends of groups, if there is something we can lend our support to, we're more than happy to do so on the proviso that we have got resources and it doesn't cost us anything. People are under the assumption that Amey have got copious amounts of money. We really haven't. Like I said, there's all sorts I could go into, but I'm not.
No, sorry about putting you on the spot a bit. I think one of the points of the presentations tonight was that, and it's something that has come up, is that people don't always know who does what in the council. And so I kind of put you on the spot because Amey deals with a particular, just the roadside.
Yeah.
And so I think it was important that everybody knows what you do. And
yeah, I mean, obviously there are certain aspects that we may do in that, say, if for argument's sake, we do proactive leaf clearance. If we know a particular area is like prone to flooding, so perhaps, I don't know, up Well Street for argument's sake, because I know that's although there is no trees around there to be fair. If we knew that the leaves were going to blow off like a car park and block the drains, we would clear them up.
Yeah.
But it would be a preventative only measure.
Thank you. And we've run out of time, I think, for tonight. But as I say, some of us will be around for you to ask your questions because ultimately this is your meeting. And it's been really interesting to take questions from the floor and hear what, your views of what people have presented on tonight. And there's lots for us to get our teeth into and take back to the town hall. And we will be hanging around after to take any questions. And I believe the next meeting is February something or other. It's not on my piece of paper, sorry. 29. February 29.
Oh, it's late, yeah.
Yeah, late. Oh, God.
Oh, watch out, we can all
Yeah. So, thank you for